House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan wants to know more about geofencing, and so he sent a letter to Merrick, Garland asking about what geofences they set up on January 6th. He sent this letter from the Committee on the Judiciary, from the House of Representatives, Jim Jordan from Ohio, over to Attorney General Merrick Garland, the guy who runs the Department of Justice. Jim Jordan signed this letter as the chairman, also copying Jerry Nadler, and he's asking about geofencing, particularly on January 6th. He says, "Hey, Mayor, our Committee on Judiciary and the Subcommittee on Oversight are examining how federal law enforcement uses geofence warrants. The committee is examining how the FBI and their decision to use geofence warrants as part of an investigation that occurred related to the events on January 6th, while they failed to use similar geofence warrants to investigate violence that erupted across the country, including at federal facilities, throughout the summer of love in spring and summer 2020. We appreciate your cooperation." Yeah, well, we'll see if you get it. Now, this is what geofence warrants are. They give us a little explainer here. They say geofence warrants, largely a new investigative tool, enable law enforcement to require a third-party provider like Google to turn over the location history data of any connected device inside or near the site of the alleged criminal activity. And they're referencing this article from a Lawfare blog, March 10th. Says the D.C. District Court upholds the government's geofence warrant used to identify J6 rioters. Now, this is a little different. So they can just set a fence, a digital fence around a geographic location to say, we're going to take everything from 1st Street over to 3rd Street and from Miller down to McDowell, and we're going to take all the people that were in that area and we're just going to get their information. I say, well, there's a bunch of people in there. How do you know that all of those people were involved in some sort of suspected or alleged criminal activity that justifies you to know who they are because they just happen to be there? It's overbroad. You're gobbling up too much protected constitutional data. So they say, in other words, this tactic allows law enforcement to cast a wide net, and then, after receiving the unique identifiers and location history of the devices from the third-party provider like Google, then they can reverse engineer the information to narrow the universe of persons of interest. According to reports, requests from law enforcement or geofence location history data have steadily increased year over year. The use of geofence warrants, says Jordan, raises serious constitutional concerns. First, location history data is not an exact science, and geolocation data represents only a probable estimation of the device's location within a given radius and margin of error. And second, a geofence location warrant is inherently tied to a specific location, not a known user, suspect, user account, or even a crime. For that reason, among others, courts have wavered on whether searches pursuant to geofence warrants comply with the Fourth Amendment and the requirements for probable cause, and this is the important part, particularity. You've got to know what you're searching for. You've got to be particular about it. You can't just say, well, we're just going to raid everything of Rob Govea's. Everything? Like his house, his mom's house, everybody he knows, all of his email, everything? Well, what are you looking for? Well, whatever we can find. Well, we're the FBI. We want to go find if he's got something bad. So we're just going to search everything. That's overbroad. Our founders would vomit at the thought. So it's particularity. What is it specifically? Oh, I need access to the safe because I believe that in the safe there's some illegal contraband in there. Get access to that. Right? And it's very specific. In addition to the constitutional concerns associated with geofence warrants, federal law enforcement's interest in geofence data appears to be selective. Oh, it's only being applied to the disfavored defendant class in America. For example, in 2020, Minnesota police sought a geofence warrant to investigate violent rioting in Minneapolis, and the Bureau of Alcohol, ATF, used geofence warrants to investigate arson throughout Kenosha, Wisconsin. However, it seems that the FBI did not pursue geofence data to investigate violent crime at federal facilities in the same time frame. By contrast, the FBI readily used geofencing at an unprecedented scope and scale as part of January 6. With Google's assistance, the government initially received a responsive location history data of as many as 5,700 unique devices from the geofence warrant, meaning those devices were or could have been within the target location, including the Capitol building and the area immediately surrounding it, which is 4 acres of land. So a lot of people, and a lot of overbroad people are being captured in that. And I would imagine that they can set start times and end times. Anybody here in, from January 4th all the way to January 6th, or January 3rd to January 6th, because it's all just logged. Every time your phone pings the tower, it knows, right? It's logged that, okay, this device pinged me and we know it's here. So it's just, spreadsheets of data files. Jordan says, Congress has an important interest in ensuring powerful investigative tools like geofence warrants are not weaponized for political ends or used in violation of the Constitution. The committee and the select subcommittee must understand the department's policy for pursuing these geofence warrants and how you investigate federal crimes. Accordingly, we ask you for the following documents. Here's what they want. All documents, this is coming from Merrick Garland, the DOJ, related to your internal policies or processes of using geofencing. All documents and communications referring or relating to your policies that request location history within a geographical region bounded by latitude coordinates, dates, and times. All search warrant applications, including the accompanying affidavit, requested and created by the FBI from January 2020 to November 2020, requesting location history data held by a third party within a geographical region bounded. These are the Summer of Love dates. I was wondering what those dates were, Summer of Love. All search warrant applications, including affidavits, so FBI affidavits, right before you submit a search warrant, you've got to explain it. All of those requested and created by the FBI related to January 6th, same thing, all of the requests to third parties. Please produce all documents no later than August 24th. Pursuant to the House rules, we have the authority to investigate civil liberties and criminal enforcement. H.R. 12 authorizes us to do this. And so, if you have any questions about it, please let us know. Sincerely, your friend, Jim Jordan. So, interesting. Now, we know that they were doing this. Of course, it's selective. We've got one favored defendant class, which is anybody who supports the liberal ideology or, the destruction of cities. And then a disfavored defendant class, which gets scooped up with federal agents in all 50 states, drags people into arrests for minor protests. They're not going to stop. I've heard other headlines that they've got a bunch of additional charges that they want to file. I think they know that people are recognizing this is kind of a joke. About 1,000 people charged in a sprawling multi-year investigation that they say was the biggest in history. Nobody buys it. The numbers don't match up. And now they want to use this riot as an excuse to move the goalposts on the Fourth Amendment protections, to say, no, search warrants that use geographic fencing should be allowed and legal, especially if we're going to stop an insurrection from wrecking America.